Hi guys, welcome to my video. Today I am going to be doing a full review of KKW Beauty. This is my impression of the brand as a whole based on the items that I've been using for, I want to say, about a year now. So I have several different items. I have eyeliner, I have lip liner, I have an eyeshadow palette, I have the body makeup, and I have the brush that goes with the body makeup. So I wanted to share my honest opinion about all of these items with you, just to give you yet another opinion about the KKW Beauty line. I'm going to let you know how I feel about the line as a whole. Do I trust them as a brand? And then let you know which items I strongly recommend for those of you who they're appropriate for, and items that I maybe pass on or maybe have like a dupe for that might be better or more affordable. So I'm going to start by showing you the packaging. I like to share packaging whenever I can because it's important to me. I think the difference between a higher end brand and a lower end brand is packaging. And actually these days even the drugstore brands have pretty nice packaging. Some of them really compete well with stuff that's available at higher end counters or places like Sephora. It's important to me because I think you're paying that extra bit and the quality should be there in the product. It should last, it should do what it promises you it'll do, but I think it should also look really nice. I think that's important. So when you get your package, it really just comes in a cardboard box that's pretty simple, which I think is fair. I think most stuff that we get does. Once in a while people will surprise you and send you something cool. But what's really cool is when you open up the box, it is pretty on the inside, like not anything extraordinary, not anything you're gonna save, but it is, you know, attention to detail that once you start having that experience, you know, you have the KKW Beauty logo here, you have that kind of nudie pink, I guess some of you might call this rose gold, but like in that world of color, and then, you know, you open it up and your stuff is inside. So I think to me it's nice thing to get, especially since when I'm purchasing anything from KKW Beauty, I have to purchase it from them directly, so they really have an opportunity to wow me, as opposed to if I order it from they don't sell it at Sephora, but if I were to order something at Sephora or like the Kylie kit, I ordered one from Ulta, so I didn't get the Kylie experience. I don't know what her packaging is like. I know what it's like to get something from Ulta. By the way, I am going to do a video right after this one about my experience with the lip kits. I know they've been out forever. I know people are very passionate about them. She became a billionaire based on this business. However, I have opinions about them too, so stay tuned for that video. So that was the packaging for KKW Beauty. And then when you open it, the packaging can vary. I saved the boxes for the like eyeliner, lip liners. The Mario collection had this cute box that has like a picture of Mario and Kim. It's like a very slight picture, but you could see it, and then the others just have simple packaging. And she does seem to have a slightly different package for each line within a segment that she sells. So for example, one thing that I am crazy about and what I own a lot of from a lot of brands are lip liners. I usually have a very strong opinion about nearly every brand's lip liner because it's something that I love and use a lot of and highly recommend. And you can see that even though these are all lip liner, they're all the same category. If you were to search lip liner, these would all come up, but they all have different packaging, and it's not based on color. So it's not that this is brown because it's brown and this is black because it's black. These are just different lines. So some of them are from the Mario collection, some are from the matte, some are from other collections. I've kind of lost track of all of those in terms of like which collection came out when. I've been using some of these for, like I said, probably a year, maybe even longer, and then one or two of them are brand new from one of the newer lines. So my opinions on the liners, now you can see, well, you can't see because I told you that they don't necessarily reflect the colors, but the backs do. And you can tell that I am into nudes. I'm wearing one now. It doesn't always look great on camera, but they look good, really good in person. I am actually using this color, which is like a true nude, and I have it on under my lipstick, which is actually a Sephora collection lipstick. So the reason I did that is because this is what I was in the mood for today, and also because I wanted to just remember the feeling of these lip liners. I find that all of them, regardless of which line they're from, like I said, some of them are mattes and some of them aren't, I feel like they go on really creamy. They feel really nice on the lip. I always have a little chapstick underneath, just so you know, because I have very, very dry lips. So that's always the way I approach lip liner, regardless of what brand or what kind, I will always hydrate my lips first. Not necessarily right before, like put on a glop of it, but when I do my skincare, I put it on, and then like a short time later, I'll put on my lip liner. It is going to be far more successful for me. That might not be the case for you, but when I do other people's makeup, I always prep their lips in advance of doing lip liner, and I always use lip liner. So at any rate, sharing that with you just so you know that that was what I did when I tested every one of these and when I used them on the daily. I'm a huge fan of them. I think they feel really nice on the lips. The colors are stunning. I think that is, for this brand as a whole, I think that is like one of their high points. And I like the way they feel. I do think they last pretty well. I think I would say that if I could only buy like one lip liner or like one brand of lip liner, and it was based on it lasting the longest, these wouldn't necessarily be my top pick. It doesn't mean that they're not good. It just means that I still think that like the Kat Von D lip liner for me, or now it's KVD Beauty, Vegan Beauty, but those have always just done really well on my lips. They also have nice colors, but they just kind of go on and stay on the longest. So I think there are lip liners out there. I think the Huda Beauty ones also do really well for me. And there are a few others that like do, like, they're kind of like the top of the top as far as I'm concerned. But I think these are beautiful. I think these would work on pretty much anybody. The only people I ever worry about with lip liner are people whose I would say lips are a little bit oilier. Sometimes I find, I think it's very few people in general, but like lips and eyelids, some people just have a little bit of that extra like oil, which I think they're very lucky. I mean, it's frustrating when they're putting on makeup and things aren't staying on, but I think they're very lucky because I think those are two areas that tend to be a little bit like less hydrated for the rest of us. I would say if that your lips are that little bit extra like oily or something, you might do better with some of those other ones than with these, because these tend to be very creamy. So I'll just show you like it just glides right on. There's a lot of pigment, and they're beautiful. And all of mine are nudes, so I can really only speak for like the nudes, the pinky nudes, the brownie nudes. With her, I tend to go straight nude because I love 90s. Like the 80s and the 90s are the decades that I really like. I don't necessarily want my makeup to look like it did in the 80s, but I just like it in general. And the 90s was the makeup that I loved the most. And nude colors were really big, and they tended to be more brown nudes. Actually, I think I still wore a lot of reds back then, but I tend to gravitate towards those colors in every line, but with hers, I think her true nudes are really nudes. Whereas most of my nudes that I get from other lines are really like pinky nudes. They tend to have more of a pink tone to them, but still be in that world. And then the reason I did the Sephora collection liquid lips today is because I don't actually own any of her actually like lipsticks or lip glosses or things of that. So I really wanted to pair this with something that like it matched with. So that's how I feel about the lip liners. I think they're good. As you can see, they're like a traditional pencil. You have to sharpen them. I'm not a fan of that. I've really liked the ones that like roll up. That being said, these work great. I have a sharpener that's specific for lip liners, and then I have one for eyeliners because I don't like to mix. You don't have to do that, but I just think it's a good thing to do. And I own so much like stuff makeup wise that there wasn't any reason for me to not separate those two things out. So on the topic of liners, I also went and bought a couple of eyeliners, brown and black. These do match the cases, so the brown is brown and the black is black. The brown I want to show you, it's actually going to be very similar in color to the lip liner. I would find that one, when I put it on, it isn't quite as creamy, but when I put it on the eye, it feels nice. It glides nicely. I'm not like dragging, but I do think that that's why I prefer the ones with the roll up, because I find that you're not competing with like the wood from the pencil when it gets a little bit lower. You're really just dealing with like the makeup from the tip. I'll also show you a little of the black. That was super creamy. So again, it might just be that the other one needed a sharpening. I haven't had a problem with either of these on the eye. So my opinion on these is quality-wise, I think they are very good quality. Color-wise, I like the colors. This black is pretty darn black, and I like a black on me. I know not everybody likes that, but I worked at Sephora for a couple of years, and definitely there's always people looking for the blackest black eyeliner. I think a lot of us like that. And this is a blacker, on the blacker side. I don't know if it's the blackest one I own, but it looks pretty darn deep. In terms of the brown, it's a very pretty, like, neutral brown. It's not the darkest brown I own, but it's a really pretty color in the eye, and I like to wear it on days where I want to go like a little bit more natural, but like I need a little bit something on my eyes, especially these days where we're on Zoom all of the time. Sometimes you just want like that little bit of thing, so you, especially if you're in bad lighting, which I think most of us are on Zoom for work anyway. So at any rate, I like that color for that, but usually I think I go for like a deeper brown. So this one was just like brown. I don't think it had any particular, I can double check for you, but yeah, it's just marked brown, so it's not like brown 5 or anything like that. So it's a nice neutral brown. It's soft. It'll look pretty on everybody. It has more of that like natural girl look. Actually, when I think of the 90s, I do think more that natural. That was like the true 90s look. Even though now when we look back, we're looking back at like runways and things where the makeup was heavier and a little bit more consistent with like more of a glam look now. But in reality, I think most of us were really about like the brown eyeshadows and the nudier lip and all of that sort of thing. So to me, that's reflective of that, and I like it. Now, the one thing I'll say about these eyeliners, and it's the same thing I would say about anybody else's traditional pencil eyeliner, it's the same problem I have with all of them. And I'm talking about all of the good ones, not even the cheap ones that like end up on your chin like 5 seconds after you put them on. They don't have that like stay put factor of any of like the liquid eyeliners, and I prefer the liquid. So what I usually do is I put the liquid on like I'm wearing today, and when I say liquid, I'm talking about the pencils, not like the old school ones, although I do have a couple of those. I think they all tend to dry down better. Sometimes if you have like a certain kind of lid, it will transfer. Some of them transfer more than others. Again, some people have an oilier lid. It really depends on your situation, but I find that the brands that I use, they dry down nicely and they stay put until I want to take them off. These, I do think, like every other pencil on my face, do tend to eventually vanish, or they move a little bit. So I tend to use them more when I want to smudge something out. So if I put it on and take a little brush in and like go in and manipulate it in a particular way, or if I want a softer look or I'm like a little bit more low key, these are not eyeliners that I personally would go to like on the daily. Like they're not taking the place of any of the other ones that I've been using. So they're good. They're as good as anybody else's. The colors are nice. The quality's nice. I won't be purchasing them again. That's just me. That being said, I think it is harder these days to find those kinds of pencils. So if you're looking for one, KVD Beauty, KKW Beauty has them for you. The next item is actually one of the earlier items. You guys have probably seen a million reviews on these if you watch a lot of beauty reviews. If you don't, they'll be new to you. This is the one I have the most complicated feelings about because I love them and I hate them. I love them because I think for people who like, I'll call it a gimmick for now. I don't think it's necessarily a gimmick, but it's a little bit of a gimmick. Anything that's two-sided, that makes your life easier, like 2-in-1 products, it's got that gimmick, right? So this one has like a highlighter and a concealer, and which I never use. I think it looks like it's never even been touched. This is the one I bought it for. I think they came as a set, and I really only wanted this product, but everything is always sold out. So this one has 2 different color concealers, one at each end. I think that's nice if you're using more than one concealer and both colors happen to match you. But personally, I would rather have one tube of one color all the way down so that I have enough product. So that's my first complaint. These do not have a lot of product. I used more of the other side. This is virtually full, so I've only maybe used it a couple times. So there's almost nothing in here. And even if considering the double-sidedness and there's like 2 of them, that's still not a lot of product. And this is not like a dirt cheap thing that you're buying at the drugstore. Not that anything at the drugstore is really that dirt cheap anymore, but they are definitely more affordable than things you buy that are higher end. For some reason, it tapers in at the bottom, and I think that's the reason for my next complaint, which is that you're not going to roll it all the way up when you use it. Obviously, you're going to roll it up like a lipstick. You're going to roll it up as much as you need to. But I had it rolled up less than this when I used this other side, which I'm going to show you. It's a mess. It is just an awful looking mess. and it just broke. It like literally fell onto the ground. I was devastated because I had just purchased it. I did pick it up, I did clean it off, I did use it. And so to me, the quantity is a problem, and the way it is made is a problem, because it broke. And I could see it breaking again and again and again, and I know that other people had theirs break too, because when I was watching other people's reviews, they had that issue too. That being said, this is one of the best, best, best contour sticks I have ever used. I cannot manage to, especially after it broke, to really use it the way it's meant to be used, which is like you draw on and then you do your buffing, right, or your blending. But it just blended better than any other. So I tend to use powder because I think powder is easier to manipulate. Powder, you put it on light and you can just build it up more and more and more, right? Cream is a little trickier, but I do think that cream has its advantages, and I think that there are days where cream is just a better way to go, and there's days where powders are a better way to go. And honestly, I like to layer them, so even if I use a cream, I would use a little powder on top to set it from another contour kit. I really love this, and I've always wanted these over the palettes, which is what I usually use. And I know that like Smashbox had some, Fenty Beauty has some, like a lot of people have ones that work well, but I think this one's better. Personally, I just think the creaminess of this, the look of it, it goes with the makeup I like, which tends to be, I'm a dry skin person, so I don't generally buy matte makeup. I will powder things down and mattify it myself, but that's so that I can set my makeup and have it have a certain look versus buying something that's just straight out of the tube matte. You can use whatever kind of foundation you want, but generally speaking, I think if you have dry skin like I do, then avoiding mattes is a general rule. It just makes your life easier and gives you a little bit more control of how you want your makeup to look. So because I like that kind of makeup, I want something creamy that goes with that kind of makeup, really works seamlessly. And then, like I said, I could powder down whatever I want. So I really love the formulation. It is super creamy. The colors that I've chosen for myself are beautiful. This was I want to say it's the medium, one of the medium kits. I'll figure it out and I'll put it in the comments below. I can't remember now because this was literally the first product that I bought, but I love it. The quality of the product is so, so, so good. And I get very frustrated when I watch either Kim Kardashian or Mario, her makeup artist, go in with and just throw it on because, like I said, mine melt. And Kim Kardashian lives on the West Coast, so her weather's warmer. And I don't know why hers are less melty than mine. I live in the Northeast where it doesn't even get that hot except for in the summer. So definitely not enough product. I think they need to fix that. I don't think they're going to. I think they probably sell plenty of these and they constantly sell out, so they're probably not going to do anything about that. I do think they need to fix the breakability issue. Like I shouldn't have to put this in the refrigerator to keep it from breaking, and I do think that would affect the product a little bit in terms of like it would be less creamy. That being said, I would definitely buy the contour stick again. I haven't really used this because I'm actually allergic to most highlighter, and I never know if I'm going to break out. My face will literally like explode. It's like one of those like you can't even go to work because it's so bad, and it usually hurts, and sometimes my eyes will swell shut. So that's why it came with the kit at the time. I just had to buy this, but I haven't really used it. I would use it on other people, but I'm not really doing makeup on other people anymore, so I cannot vouch for this except to say that it's creamy and it has all the same issues of like breakability that this has. But I would absolutely buy this again in spite of the fact that it's not enough product. I know it's gonna break. It's a pain in the butt, but it's really, really good. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know if that even helps you at all, but I think it's a really, really good product. So speaking of good products, there's another product that I really like and I do highly recommend. It is the eyeshadow, this particular one, the matte palette. So I like the way these work. This is what they look like on the inside. Try not to show you too much of what's going on. This is what they look like. So you have a couple of gray type of tones. One's a little warmer, one's a little bit more a cool neutral. You have like a deep blue, a black, a medium brown, which I would say is similar to the way I described the eyeliner, which is like, it's that medium brown. It'll look pretty on everybody, but it's not necessarily that like deep brown if you're looking for something that like is similar-ish to the black, right, that you could use like as an eyeliner or whatever. And then it has 5 skin tones, and not everybody's skin tone is here, but it has all the tones that would look really pretty on a lot of different skin tones. And the lightest one I think would work almost as like a near white on my skin tone. So I'll show them to you one more time. I use the grays. They're not really picking up as grays here, but this row right here, they're looking beigey on camera, I can tell, but these are the grays. This is the blue, and the one that looks sort of grayish is actually black. So these are a little bit powdery, not in a bad way. Powdery, not, let me be specific. Sometimes when I buy drugstore eyeshadow, or just bad eyeshadow in general, it can be powdery in the sense that like it feels like basically they took a vat of baby powder, added a teeny bit of pigment, and then pressed it in there. So it looks blue, but when you put it on your face, it's gonna look like baby powder with a little bit of blue in it. I don't mean like that. These have good pigment. Powdery in the sense that some eyeshadow, even some good eyeshadow, when you pick it up, there's gonna be something that you need to kind of like off, right? Like it's probably not good to do it that way, but it's just, some of them are a little bit different in consistency. It's a little bit powdery, nothing that I would complain about, because honestly most of my eyeshadows that I really like have that little powdery effect, so not a big deal. I always like tap my brushes before I go to my face so that that powder doesn't fall, but that is definitely a thing. If you work with like cream eyeshadows or the ones that are on the wand, that's not a problem. So that is always going to be an issue, or often will be an issue with these types of things. I love this palette because it is the most perfect palette I've owned in terms of the colors. So I like neutrals, I like nudes. I am not a person you will ever really see with like orange or red or anything on my eye. I love those looks, and I have friends who do them beautifully, and they look so beautiful. Like I'm attracted to it on other people. It's not something that I want for myself. I pretty much want to wear gray eyeshadow every day. Sometimes I like more of a nude look. I love a smoky black eye. I don't necessarily like it on me, but I love a smoky black eye. So that's the aesthetic that I like. This palette is probably the best one I've ever had in terms of just having colors I need and use, and not having any colors I don't. Literally the only color I would probably never use in this palette on the day-to-day is that sort of deep neutral blue color. And honestly, if I was doing a full eye, like if I was doing a smoky eye or something, I would use that color, because you need to use a lot of different colors to create. You don't have to, but it's better, I find, when I'm working, to use different colors to help achieve a certain look, even if it's really ultimately going to end up looking one color. So if I'm doing a more elaborate look, I would use the blue. It's just you're not likely to see me wearing a blue look. So that's the color that's gonna probably still have color in it when everything else hits pan. And this will hit pan because I will be using it. The grays are gonna be gone. And just certain of the nudes will definitely be gone, and I will definitely be repurchasing this. So I like the quality, I like the way it looks, I even like the packaging. It's that simple sort of nice papery cardboardy type of packaging. I think there's enough product in the pan. It's not like sometimes you feel like you get taken advantage of because like there's less product than you expect. And I just really like the layout of colors. I like that they went from like lightest nude to the deepest colors all the way across. And mostly I like that there's 2 grays, both of which I think are really look nice on my skin tone. So I can just slap them on really quick, or I could work with them elaborately. There are 2 other palettes that I have come across in sort of my more recent makeup journey of like the last 5 years that I think are wonderful for neutrals. One is from Laura Mercier. It used to be my go-to palette. That tended to be nudie pinky colors, and their darker colors were like a perfect chocolate brown, and that I like used so hard. And purples, which I am not a fan of, but purples are a good color, and they you can do like almost like the feeling of a black smoky eye, but with purples. And sometimes that actually looks nicer on people. It actually looks nicer on me than when I use blacks. Black can be a little harsh. That's a beautiful palette. It used to be kind of like a Christmas only type of thing, and now it's available all the time. I highly recommend that palette. I may have even put it in another video, but I have to say, since I found this palette, I don't feel the need to purchase that one again, because again, it leans a little bit more pinky purpley, and I'm really not interested in the pinky purpley. I just liked it because they were neutral and beautiful, and I used to refer to it as like the wedding palette because the colors are just so beautiful and elegant and simple and kind of refined that you could buy it and use it on your wedding day. These colors are just much more on the mark for me, with the true nudes and the black, which I think is more useful than brown, and the grays. So I'm a huge fan of this. If I wanted other shadow, like if I wanted warmer shadows, I would definitely be open to going to the KKW Beauty site and getting another one. But personally, I have everything I need in this, so I'm probably not going to be purchasing another shadow kit from her. Don't let me fool you into thinking I don't own like 100 eyeshadow palettes. I do. I own a lot. I will continue to purchase ones, but I tend to buy those more for sometimes they're more to collect them. Sometimes they have a particular vibe that I want for a certain thing, but this will be my everyday shadow. My last two products are related to one another. They are the body makeup and the brush. I have very strong opinions on both of these. I will start with the body makeup since that's the real product. It took me forever to get my hands on this, but when I finally did, I bought a medium, and I think it works really well for my legs, which is where I would use it. Not opposed to using it on my arms, but I bought it specifically for my legs because I do have a bit of scarring from like psoriasis that went away but the scars are still there, or like bits of psoriasis that are still there and I still have a little bit of texture, and I always seem to have that pinkness that never fully goes away from me, and then when it does, it leaves like kind of like a brownish stain on the skin. And I also have freckling, which I don't think is common, but I think I made a few poor choices in my journey of trying to get rid of the damn stuff. And at any rate, on the daily, it doesn't bother me. I'm used to it. I look at it every day. There's some days where I really couldn't care less, and I'm going to put on my shorts and I'm going to go out, and if it bothers you, too bad. And that is my feeling about it in general, and that's how I think everybody should feel about it, because you shouldn't be burdened by other people's opinion about what your skin looks like. However, on those days where you do want it to look nicer or it does bother you, and that's okay too, I think this is a really good product. I was really happy to find this. I have tried a couple of other products, not because I went out of my way to find them, honestly. I think it's easier just to wear a longer dress or wear like stockings, to be honest, than deal with body makeup, because body makeup is like another step. I feel like it takes longer than face makeup, because face makeup, like, you practice, you do it all the time. Even if it takes a while, that's like a choice, like you choose to spend 40 minutes doing your makeup. Body makeup, I feel like, is going to take the amount of time it takes, because most of us don't put it on every day, so you don't really get a chance to get really good at it. And I live in the Northeast, and so I'm really not even gonna have the opportunity to use it except for maybe in the summer, or if I go on vacation somewhere warmer. Frankly, if I'm on vacation, it's probably at a beach, and I will not be putting on body makeup. So I have very few opportunities to use this stuff. I have very few opportunities to practice with it, so it takes a minute. I know there's some people who slap it on with their brushes. Again, I think those are people who do it on the daily. I am not that person. I also think some of those people have spray tans, and so this is being incorporated into their spray tan. So if you're doing the whole spray tan thing or doing self-tanning, you're probably a master at this, and this will probably take you no time at all. But for the rest of us, it's going to take a minute. To make sure that everything is blended in correctly, that you didn't miss a spot. It's the same as shaving. Like, you can't forget the back of your legs, or the top of your legs, or the top of the back of your legs. So, of all the products that I've tried, most of which were sprays, this one was actually the best. I thought it had the nicest color, and because some of those other ones are really orange, and I'm sorry, but tan is not orange. I don't know who decided that if you want to be tanner that you're going to be orange. That's, to me, that's fake tan. But if you're naturally getting tanner, like, your skin's going to have a particular tone to it. And when I put the medium on my legs, it worked. My legs are a little bit lighter than the rest of me. So it's possible that if my legs were like a little bit darker, I might want a slightly darker tone, but I think the medium works because the point isn't necessarily to change the color of your legs. The point is to give them that little bit of like a tan look, and for me it's to like cover all of those things that I want to cover, which this easily does because those things are not so those scars aren't like so intense that I need like a tattoo concealer. It's not like that kind of thing. So this works very nicely. It feels really good on. I would not personally sit on a white couch to test this. I did not sit on a white couch for you guys to test it to make sure it didn't transfer. But once it was on and once it was sealed, it did feel like it was on my skin. So it felt more a part of me than like my face makeup. So even though I do all these things when I like really go for it doing my makeup to make sure it stays on all day, that doesn't mean that if you don't come up and hug me and rub your face, rub my face against your shirt, that my makeup isn't gonna end up in your shirt, because it totally will. I kind of feel like this is less likely to transfer because first of all, you're putting far less product on any particular area of your legs or arms. But again, I still didn't want to sit on like a white couch or a cream color couch because makeup is makeup and it could transfer, and I'm not interested in messing up furniture to test it. So personally, when I use this, I still make sure that if I'm sitting on someone's couch or something to kind of like not plop my legs or anything on any part of the actual sofa, because like I said, makeup is makeup. But it did feel like it was really locked in. It wasn't moving anywhere, it wasn't going anywhere, it didn't fade. It really lasted and it looked nice. The one other thing I will say about this is if you do have something like a psoriasis or anything else on your skin that gives you texture meaning it's not like your perfectly smooth skin, something's going on, you have like ridges or something like that. This, for me, did not make those go away. I still have that texture and you're still aware of the fact that I have the texture. However, the fact that this neutralized the color and made it look like the rest of my skin, meaning where I have areas of texture, sometimes it's a little darker, sometimes it could be just a different color. It's not necessarily darker than my skin tone, but just a different color. Sometimes there's a little bit of a gray tone, but mostly it's pink. I have a pinkness because it's inflamed. And so what this does is it knocks down that pinkness. It just neutralizes it all. It makes it the same color as the rest of my skin. So even if I have that texture, my legs still look like 100 times better than they would if I wasn't using the makeup. The one fear I have is that if I were to see my legs in this makeup too often, then it would start to bum me out when I don't have makeup. It's like when you wear makeup every day and then you don't wear it one day and people go, oh my God, are you okay? You look kind of sick, that kind of thing. So again, I try to just keep things like natural and like it is what it is. And if you don't like it too bad, look the other way. That's your problem, not mine. That's my general attitude. But for those days that you're going to a wedding, you're just dressed nice, whatever it may, you're taking family pictures, whatever it may be, I think this is a fabulous product. I'm really happy that she made it. Whether you're using it purely for vanity or just to kind of give yourself a little bit something back that you've lost, due to something like a psoriasis or what have you. I think it works really well. I think the trick is just making sure you have the right color and the right tool to apply it with. This is a very long video, so I don't know if you're still here or not, but thanks for sticking around if you are. All right, so the last tool is this. It took me forever to get this. I had the body makeup long before I had the brush to apply it with. So in order to use it, I had two choices. I could use my hands, which are always a good tool, but the reason I generally don't use my hands for applying makeup or foundation, is because I find that my hands will end up having half the bottle's worth of foundation or body makeup on them. And so I'm really just washing it down the sink, right? So that's not the worst thing in the world because you will get a good application, but you are wasting a lot of product. I find that when I use a brush, I can use a certain amount of product. I get it on my body. I can blend it nicely. And when I wash my brushes, I find I'm not losing nearly as much makeup as I do using my hands. So because I didn't get the brush right away, I ended up using what I had. I fortunately have like a bajillion makeup brushes, and this one had been sitting in my makeup brush drawer, and I had purchased it because I thought it was really cool, but truthfully, like, I wasn't using all that much body makeup. I was just testing a couple things here and there, and so it didn't really get used until I purchased this. Now, this one, which is, I want to say it's called the Face and Body Sculpting Brush from EcoTools. I love EcoTools brushes. I don't use them as much as I probably should because I think they're pretty good, but I have brushes that I think are even better. But what I really like them for is their price, and I love the aesthetics. Like, I think the bamboo handles are beautiful. I think they're solid without being like overly heavy, you know what I mean? Like, you can handle it. It's not so heavy that you can handle it, but it has like substance to it. So I like them, and more importantly, I like the bristles. This is probably the one that I use the most now, but I've had other like eye brushes and that I thought were pretty great for the price. So I had this around. I just put my product right on the brush. I kind of stipple it on the area just so I'm not like concentrating too much product in one area. I just kind of get it everywhere. And then I really just work my way in. This brush is really soft. It's got a ton of bristles. It's packed, but they're like loose, right? They're like, it's not like this. It's like spread apart. So I actually love this EcoTools brush. And because it has a wider head, I feel like it works a little bit faster than the one that was made for the product, which has very soft bristles, really pretty. A little bit, gives you a little bit more control because it is a little bit smaller. But what I didn't like about this brush was the fact that it took me forever to get my hands on it, even though it is meant to be used with the body makeup. I don't hate this. I think it's a cute brush, but honestly, like, when I look at these two together, to me, this feels like the more expensive, nicer looking brush. And to me, this looks a little plasticky and cheap. Like, if I didn't tell you this was KKW Beauty brush, you would probably think it was just some cheap thing that I picked up like at an odd lot place for a couple of bucks. And it wasn't a couple bucks. This one, it's in like the 20s and 30s, somewhere in there. And again, I'll list all the prices below in the box. So it's not like a super expensive brush, like people who charge like 50, 60, 80, 100, $150. It's not like that, but it's a high-end price brush. It's in the 30s or 40s, which is a lot of money for most people. And this one was probably half as much, maybe even less. And so for me, if I'm gonna spend the money on the higher end thing, I want it to be way nicer than the drugstore thing. And to me, this isn't way nicer. This is it's kind of cheap looking. The product itself, the bristles are not cheap. These are nicely made. This is a good product, but this handle on the brush is not, in my opinion. It's just a cheap looking plasticky thing. That's okay. So that's just my takeaway. Do I regret buying it? Not really, but if I were to give you advice on which one you should buy, I would tell you straight up, just buy like the EcoTools or another brand that you like, that is more affordable and does the job and looks good to your eye, something that you like, that you want to keep around. Because if you take care of a good brush, you can have it for like decades. I have brushes that are like older than some of the people watching this video, and they last. You just really have to know how to take care of them. So good brush, better brush. That is my opinion on those. So those are the products that I've been using from KKW Beauty. They're all the products I have. And my takeaway from this brand is that it's actually a really good brand. It is worth the investment for most of the products. I would definitely continue to buy the lip liners. I will definitely continue to buy the body makeup. I would definitely repurchase this eyeshadow palette, and if another one that has colors that appeal to me comes out or that I know I'm going to use, I would absolutely buy it. I would definitely recommend this particular palette to most of you, because I think most of you, even if you're into like really beautiful bright colors, like these are still colors that are going to be useful to you in some way, shape, or form. The sticks, I would also, the contour stick, I don't know if I could recommend it to you because I do think it's overpriced. I do think it's a little bit gimmicky. I do think that because it breaks, it's extremely difficult to use. Again, maybe my next stick will be better and maybe it won't break, but I think it's likely to break. And so I use it in spite of that. I kind of use it knowing that it's going to break. But the quality of this is so good that I would purchase it again. I don't know if I would tell you to run out and get it unless you're like a huge makeup person like I am and you just need to try it, in which case go for it. The one thing that I will definitely not be purchasing again are the eyeliners, because I think a lot of brands, not a lot of brands, they're harder to find these days than they used to be, but there are enough brands out there that do make like the traditional pencils, and you know, like I have them from Melt Cosmetics and I think they're really good. And so I don't have to get the KKW ones. I could just pick a brand that has them and buy them. The ones that I liked the best were the KKW, no, I'm sorry, what is it? I can't remember. The one that used to be Kat Von D, sorry, KVD, Vegan Beauty. There we go. Too many acronyms. Back in the day when the line was still new, they had pencils and I loved them. They were my favorite. I think they had a lot of great colors and they worked well, but there's enough brands out there. Like Urban Decay has them, and Makeup Forever is probably the ones I would go for. So I personally wouldn't buy those again, but that's just me. I am not a traditional pencil girl. I like the ones that are more of the Merker style. So there's that. So that is my very lengthy video on KKW Beauty. I like the brand. I am interested in trying the lipsticks and some of the lip liners, and I might even try their contour palette. That's the cream. I have cream contour palettes that I really don't like to use because, like I said, I just find them a little bit difficult to work with. I find that there's a quality and this is nice. I'm hoping that the cream version of the palette maybe has this type of product, but in the palette where you know you just have to go in with a brush instead of trying to use the stick, which is inevitably gonna break on you and end up on the floor, which is kind of nasty. So anyways, overall, I'm really happy with KKW Beauty. It's way better than the Kardashian collection that they used to have back in the day. It's not on the same level. This has a lot of thought and a lot of love put into it. If you're a nude girl like I am, you're gonna love, love, love the colors. I certainly do, and it's fun just to see the collections as they roll out. So that is my opinion about this line. Please comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I especially want to hear your thoughts if you had a different opinion on the sticks. Like if you have a trick, or if your sticks didn't break on you like everybody else's seem to, that would be great to hear about. I want to know about the body makeup especially, because it's, like I said, I think it's a pretty special product, because I think a lot of us really, it's not that we need it, but it's kind of a nice thing to have, to cover up things that you don't necessarily want to look at. But definitely comment below on any of your thoughts on this. Like I said, right after this, I will be filming a Kylie video for the lip kit. I have very strong opinions on that as well, and they differ quite a bit from the KKW Beauty, so definitely check that out. They will be posting pretty much back to back, like one day after another. Okay, so thank you for joining me for this video. Thank you for watching the really, really long video if you actually stuck it out to the end. It was great spending time with you, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.